Good morning, Toronto and the Greater Toronto Area. It's Monday, January 27th, 2026, and we're coming to you in the aftermath of what officials are now calling a once-in-a-generation meteorological event. And I need you to understand the magnitude of what just happened, because Environment Canada has issued an orange alert winter storm warning. That's the second highest warning level in their colour-coded system, and this city just lived through the snowiest single day in its recorded history. Toronto Pearson International Airport recorded 46 centimetres of snow on Sunday, January 25th alone, shattering the previous single-day record of 36.8 centimetres that stood since January 23rd, 1966, nearly 60 years. But here's what makes this truly extraordinary. That 46 centimetre Sunday dump brings our January 2026 total to 88.2 centimetres, which Environment Canada has now confirmed makes this officially the snowiest January and the snowiest month of any month since weather records began in Toronto in 1937, and we're still facing ongoing cold warnings with wind chill values plummeting to minus 25 degrees Celsius overnight. Let me break down exactly what happened across the Greater Toronto Area, because the impacts varied dramatically depending on your precise location within the region. Toronto City Centre, the downtown core measurement station, actually recorded 56 centimetres of snow during this event, a full 10 centimetres more than Pearson Airport's 46. And that discrepancy tells you everything about how lake effect enhancement worked during this storm. Areas closer to Lake Ontario experienced intensified snowfall rates as moisture was continuously pulled off the relatively warmer lake waters and dumped onto the immediate shoreline communities. Moving east across southern Ontario, Trenton measured 42 centimetres, Belleville saw 34 centimetres, and communities throughout the Gita experienced accumulations ranging from 40 to 60 centimetres, depending on their proximity to Lake Ontario and local topographic features that either channeled or dispersed the heaviest snow bands. Now let's talk about what officials are calling Winter Storm Fern. That's the unofficial designation used by the Weather Channel and various meteorological services. Because this wasn't just a Toronto problem, this was a continental-scale weather system that impacted 34 states across the United States and stretched from Texas all the way through the Canadian border, bringing a deadly combination of snow, ice, and Arctic cold. The storm system resulted from what meteorologists call a stretched polar vortex. That's when the normally compact circular region of cold low-pressure air over the Arctic morphs into a more elongated oval shape, allowing frigid Arctic air to spill southward across massive geographic areas. In Toronto's case, that Arctic air mass combined with abundant moisture from the Great Lakes to create the perfect conditions for extreme snowfall accumulation, and the fact that this came as the third significant snowstorm this week means infrastructure was already strained before Sunday's historic dump even began. The transportation impacts have been absolutely catastrophic across every mode of transit in the Greater Toronto Area. Toronto Pearson International Airport experienced more than 600 flight cancellations over a 24-hour period spanning Sunday into Monday. That's roughly two-thirds of scheduled operations completely grounded. FlightAware data shows that airlines experienced over 19,000 delays continent-wide on Monday, with 5,900 cancellations. And Toronto Pearson remained a major disruption node as clean-up efforts continued throughout Monday, with further delays expected into Tuesday. Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport similarly cancelled numerous flights, and travellers are being advised to check directly with airlines before attempting to reach either airport and to allow significant extra time for travel given ongoing road conditions. The airport authority specifically warned that flights to and from Atlantic Canada and certain parts of the United States could remain affected due to weather conditions in those regions as Winter Storm Fern continues its eastward progression. On the ground, the Ontario Provincial Police reported approximately 200 collisions and another 150 calls for vehicles stuck in ditches across the Greater Toronto and Hamilton areas during the height of the storm, and tragically we're reporting at least one fatality. A driver lost control on a Highway 8 ramp in Kitchener and launched over a snow embankment onto the highway below. Sergeant Kerry Schmidt emphasised through social media that highways remain hazardous as of Monday evening despite ongoing ploughing operations, and the OP is urging drivers to stay off roads unless travel is absolutely essential. Toronto Police Service similarly responded to numerous collisions throughout the city and continues advising residents to avoid unnecessary travel, while municipal crews work to restore normal road conditions, a process that officials say will take days, not hours. The Toronto Transit Commission experienced what can only be described as systemic disruptions across the entire network Monday morning. Multiple stretches of Line 1 and Line 2, the backbone of Toronto's subway system, were completely shut down between various stations, requiring shuttle bus replacement service. But here's where it got really problematic. Those shuttle buses were themselves delayed due to the hazardous road conditions, leaving commuters waiting in bitter, -25-degree wind chill conditions at outdoor stops. Line 6, the brand new Finch West LART that's been plagued with reliability issues since opening, shut down entirely for several hours Monday morning, adding to the transit chaos. Streetcar service across the city faced major delays as tracks became buried under snow and overhead power lines experienced ice accumulation. By Monday afternoon, TTC Senior Communications Advisor Susan Nguyen stated that the system was holding up better and they'd be ready for the evening rush hour, but the reality for Monday morning commuters was hours of delays, packed shuttle buses, and brutally cold waits at stops that hadn't yet been cleared by city snow crews. GO Transit operated on a special modified schedule, and passengers were strongly advised to verify departure times before heading to stations. Every major school board across the Greater Toronto Area declared Monday, January 26th, a snow day. The Toronto District School Board, York Catholic District School Board, Peel District School Board, and numerous others all cancelled in-person classes, affecting hundreds of thousands of students. All school buses were cancelled throughout the region. Toronto Metropolitan University and the University of Toronto closed all campuses Monday, while York University postponed, cancelled or moved to remote delivery all in-person activities. As of Monday evening, the Toronto District School Board announced that schools will reopen Tuesday, January 27th, though parents are advised to monitor communications in case conditions change given the ongoing cold warning and potential for additional snow through the week. Now let's address the cleanup operation, because this is where the rubber meets the road, literally. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow held a news conference Monday afternoon, where she acknowledged that while ploughing is well underway, snow removal will take considerable time, particularly on narrow residential streets, where some residents may still be struggling to even get out of their driveways. The city has mobilised more than 600 ploughs working on roads and sidewalks, with more than 1,300 city staff and contractors deployed in what officials are calling a major snow event response, the second such activation this winter season. The city's operational strategy follows a hierarchical approach. First, plough arterial roads and major routes to establish basic citywide connectivity. Second, address local residential streets. And third, shift into large-scale snow removal operations where accumulated snow is actually hauled away, rather than just pushed to the sides. City Manager Paul Johnson emphasised during Monday's briefing that it takes time to work through that sequence, and he explicitly stated that the large-scale removal phase, which is what's really needed given the extraordinary accumulation totals, cannot begin until adequate ploughing has created sufficient space on roadways. The city has activated parking restrictions on major streets and streetcar routes to facilitate snow clearing operations, and enforcement is active. If you're parked illegally in a snow route, you will be tagged and towed, adding insult to injury during an already expensive and difficult situation. Mayor Chow specifically referenced the criticism the city faced last winter, when back-to-back storms left many streets unploughed for days, and she's been touting improvements to the snow response plan, including a centralised coordination system and enhanced deployment of staff. The proof, as they say, will be in the ploughing, and residents on narrow residential streets are being asked for patience as crews work systematically through thousands of kilometres of city roadways. Environment Canada continues to maintain a yellow-level cold warning for Toronto and surrounding regions, in effect through Tuesday morning. Current conditions show wind chill values near -25 overnight Monday into Tuesday, moderating slightly to -15 to -20 on Tuesday itself, but that's still dangerously cold. Exposure of skin can lead to frostbite in minutes under those conditions. The warning explicitly states that extreme cold puts everyone at risk, but particularly vulnerable populations include the elderly, young children, individuals with cardiovascular or respiratory conditions, and those experiencing homelessness. The City of Toronto has activated its extreme cold weather plan, opening additional warming centres and increasing outreach to vulnerable populations to ensure people have access to shelter during these life-threatening conditions. Looking at the extended forecast, because I know you're wondering when we can expect relief from this relentless winter weather, Environment Canada is calling for a 40% chance of flurries every single day through Friday of this week. That's not major accumulation, but it means the 88.2 centimetres we've already received isn't going anywhere quickly, and we may see additional light accumulations that will complicate cleanup efforts. Temperatures are expected to remain below seasonal normals through the end of the month, with overnight lows consistently in the minus teens, and daytime highs struggling to reach -5 to -8 Celsius. That's cold enough to keep snow in a dry, powdery state, which is both good and bad. Good because it's easier to plough and blow. Bad because it drifts more readily and gets whipped up by wind, reducing visibility and recovering areas that have already been cleared. Let me put this in historical context, because numbers alone don't fully capture the significance of what Toronto just experienced. The previous record for snowiest month was held by December 1944, when the city received 86.1 centimetres. We've now exceeded that with 88.2 centimetres, and we still have 4 days left in January 2026, meaning any additional accumulation will push that record even higher. The single-day record that stood from 1966 lasted nearly 60 years before being obliterated by Sunday's 46-centimetre dump. Some of you may remember January 1999, often called the snowstorm of the century, when Toronto received close to 150 centimetres over the entire month, and Mayor Mel Lastman famously called in the Canadian military to assist with snow removal. We're not at that point yet, and Mayor Chow joked Monday that I don't think we need to bring in the army, but we're closer to that 1999 total than anyone would have predicted a week ago. And this January will be remembered alongside that legendary winter event in Toronto's weather history. So what do you need to do right now to stay safe and navigate this ongoing situation? First and most importantly, if you don't absolutely have to travel, don't. Roads remain hazardous despite ongoing ploughing. The Toronto Police and municipal officials across the GITA are all delivering the same message. Stay home, if possible. If you must drive, ensure your vehicle is fully prepared. That means full tank of gas, emergency kit including blankets and food, fully charged cell phone, and scraper and shovel. Drive slowly, increase following distances dramatically, and understand that even major highways may have sections that are still snow-covered or icy. Black ice is a serious concern as temperatures hover around freezing. Roads that look clear may have invisible ice surfaces that eliminate traction entirely. For pedestrians and transit users, dress in layers with particular attention to extremities, hat, gloves, warm boots rated for these temperatures, and consider a scarf or face covering to protect exposed skin from wind chill. Many sidewalks remain uncleared, so allow extra time and be prepared for difficult walking conditions. If you're waiting for transit, try to find indoor or sheltered waiting areas when possible, and check TTC and Go Transit websites and apps for real-time service updates before heading out. Transit service has improved from Monday morning's chaos, but delays and disruptions should still be expected. Check on vulnerable neighbours, particularly elderly residents who may have difficulty clearing their walkways or accessing necessities. The city's snow clearing priorities focus on major routes first, meaning residential sidewalks may remain uncleared for days. If you're physically able to help a neighbour clear their walk, that small act of community support can make an enormous difference. Similarly, if you're shoveling your own property, remember to pace yourself. Snow removal is extremely physically demanding, and we see heart attacks spike during major snow events as people overexert themselves. Take frequent breaks, stay hydrated even though it's cold, and if you experience any chest pain or shortness of breath, stop immediately and seek medical attention. For property owners, remember you have legal responsibility under Toronto's municipal code to clear snow from public sidewalks adjacent to your property within 12 hours of snowfall ending. Given the extraordinary accumulations, the city has indicated they're being somewhat flexible with enforcement timelines. but you still need to make best efforts to clear walkways for safety. When you're clearing, remember to create space for snow that will be coming off your roof. The weight of nearly 60 centimetres of snow is substantial, and as temperatures moderate, we may see increased risk of ice dams and roof damage. If you notice sagging roof lines or interior water stains, those are signs of potential structural stress that need immediate professional assessment. The cumulative impact of this being the third major storm this week cannot be overstated. Infrastructure that handles one major snow event reasonably well begins to buckle under repeated pounding, and we're seeing that in our transit delays, road conditions, and the sheer logistics of snow removal when there's simply nowhere left to push the snow. Parking lots have become snow mountains, sidewalks have narrowed to single-file paths, and intersections have reduced sight lines, creating additional safety hazards. This is the reality of an extreme winter weather pattern that shows no signs of breaking anytime soon, and adaptation is required. That might mean working from home if your employer allows it, consolidating errands to reduce trips, or simply accepting that getting around Toronto right now takes significantly more time than normal. Environment Canada meteorologists attribute this extreme winter pattern to the stretched polar vortex I mentioned earlier, which has allowed sustained Arctic airflow across eastern Canada. The combination of that Arctic air with moisture-rich systems moving up from the United States created the perfect snowstorm recipe, and long-range models suggest this pattern could persist through the first week of February before we see any significant moderation towards seasonal temperatures. That means more snow is likely, more cold is certain, and more strain on our infrastructure and our patience is guaranteed. I want to close with this. Toronto has weathered major winter events before and will get through this one, but it requires cooperation, patience, and community support. The city crews are working around the clock. Transit workers are dealing with extraordinarily difficult conditions to keep people moving, and your neighbours are all dealing with the same challenges you're facing. This is when we demonstrate what Toronto is really about. Not just when the weather is pleasant and the patios are open, but when winter delivers its absolute worst and we still manage to maintain a functioning city and look out for one another. The cleanup will take days, the cold will persist through the week, and we may well see additional snow before January ends. But we've got the information we need, the resources deployed, and the resilience required to get through this. Keep checking Environment Canada's website for updated warnings and forecasts. Monitor the City of Toronto's social media channels and website for snow clearing updates and parking restrictions. And follow TTC and Go Transit for real-time service information if you're relying on public transportation. Stay warm, stay safe, and stay patient as our city digs itself out from the snowiest month in 89 years of recorded weather history. If you found this briefing helpful, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and notifications are turned on because we'll be providing updates as conditions evolve through the week and as that extended forecast develops. Weather information isn't just entertainment in situations like this, it's critical safety information that helps you make informed decisions about protecting yourself and your family. Take care of yourselves, Toronto, check on your neighbours, and let's get through this together.